The Calgary Flames fell to the Edmonton Oilers in the Heritage Classic. Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames joins us to discuss what went wrong for Calgary and what they can do to get their season back on track. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And you can also find us now on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just do a search for Locked On NHL. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Flames, Jess Belmosto. And Jess, quite an event, a lot of pageantry at the Heritage Classic. What were your impressions of the way the city of Edmonton put this together in the NHL?
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. The stadium, I've never really seen the stadium before, so it's really nice to obviously take in new things. And the whole setup was really nice. I thought that down at the rink level, everything looked presentable and professional and just appealing. And of course, the grand entrance outfits were feel pretty on brand for Alberta, and I appreciate both teams leaning into that.
How about the uniforms? Did you have a preference as to which team looked better and so forth?
I promise I'm not biased here, but I do think the Flames jerseys look a lot better. The initial unveiling of them, I thought that they were both very ugly, but I think the Flames definitely look better when they're on and on the ice.
It was the pants, wasn't it?
It was.
As for the game itself, couple of power play goals for the Flames, but overall struggling 5-on-5 and not quite getting the job done. What went wrong in this game for the Calgary Flames?
They fell behind. This is something that they have struggled with not only this year, but last season as well. They do not have the opportunity to build momentum. They will, it was 2-0 at one point, and then Kadri scored, and there was a chance to build momentum there, and they didn't, because Draisaitl went and scored, and it was a 2-goal lead, and this team really struggles playing from behind. They didn't have a come-from-behind win last season until March. So it was just a lot of missed opportunities here.
So, obviously there's a new coach. There's a new adjustment period going on as a result. What needs to be cleaned up here to get off to a better start? Let's start with that.
I personally have no rationale behind Ryan Huska's choice to put Dryden Hunt and Dylan Dubé on the first line with Elias Lindholm. Dryden Hunt is, with all respect to him, but either a fourth line player or he's in your AHL for depth, and he's there when you need him. Dylan Dubé has been one of the, I don't want to call him dead weight, but he's just been along for the ride in the last season or so, and he hasn't really blossomed into that top six or middle six player that the Flames were hoping to get out of him. And there's just no reason for either of them to be on the top line when you have players like Coronado, Jonathan Huberdeau, and even Mangiapane. I don't understand.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. How about Markstrom in goal? His numbers aren't terrible, but They don't seem to have a lot of confidence in his backup right now. And, is the lack of confidence in the backup having an effect on Markstrom starting so many games?
I think that Markstrom is truly the only player that has put in an ounce of effort, not only in the Heritage Classic, but what feels like the entire season this far. And he's looked good. Like, there have definitely been goals where it's like, oh no, we're seeing last season Jakob Markstrom, but then he'll make those Vezina candidate caliber saves, and you're like, oh, like, it's fine. It's okay. Dan Vladar, I feel like, hasn't had a fair shot in Calgary. I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Daryl Sutter just rode a hot goalie. That was his part of his legacy. And he drove Markstrom into the ground and never really gave Vladar a chance to get his footing underneath him. And when he does start, they're not good starts. And I don't know if it's because he's a poor goaltender or if it's truly just the opponent and kind of luck of the draw situation. But also the Flames defense is crumbling in front of goaltenders, regardless of who's out there.
5 losses in a row right now. What does this team need to fix first to get back on track?
That's a really good question because I wish I had the answer. I think that they really need to figure out this 5-on-5 scoring situation. It's not good at all. And I feel like the further they fall behind, the harder it is going to be to dig themselves out. And I want to see the offense just get going. And I don't think Huska's attempt at this line assembling is working. And it's the end of October and I'm running out of excuses for Huska, and that's not a good sign.
Do you think the team is starting to lose confidence in him, or?
I don't know if it's him because when he talks to the media, he is very poised, put together, articulate. Like, he will expand on anything really you ask him, and it's nice for a change, really, in any coach. But I think the players are just tired of losing. And last week there was a quote from last week. They were booed off the ice at home, and that wasn't enough to kick them into gear. So I don't know what it's going to take.
Nazem Kadri, I mean, this was his first goal of the year in this game, and we're in game 9. What's wrong with him? Why isn't he producing offensively? And what can they do to get him on track?
I think a lot of it has to do with, again, the line shuffling. When he is on a certain line, they don't have the puck. There's not a lot of offensive opportunities there. And tonight, really, I think, hopefully, is kind of like the dam has burst, and we're going to start seeing offensive production from him. But I really do think it's the fact that he hasn't been given the opportunity to build chemistry with any line mates. It's just, if he's not moved, someone else is, and it's not working.
And yet that comes back to coaching.
Yeah. So I don't know what the plan is and how long this will last, but they started the season last year with a few wins and then went on a 7-game losing streak and were never able to recover. So kind of feels like we're right back there.
Deja vu all over again in Calgary. Jess, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yes, so you can listen to Locked On Flames wherever you listen to your Locked On NHL podcast and your other favorite podcasts as well, and Locked On Flames on YouTube. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. And yeah, just trying to get by. Trying to find the positive.
Jess, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. So Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I'll tell you, the feature that I love best on the Game Time app is that you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.